So here we are back at my steelhead nirvana, and steelhead season's obviously over, and if you saw any of the prior videos, you may not actually recognize this space with this much water, but as I mentioned earlier, this is approximately 10 times as much water as was here during steelhead season. And it peaked about a week ago today at 6,200 CFS on the stream gauge that I follow. And as of today, or as of yesterday, it dropped below 4,000 CFS after that high of 6,200 this year. And as it continues to drop slowly, because there's still plenty of snow up real high to melt, it'll spend most of the summer at about 1/8 of this much flow, meaning between 400 and 500 CFS. So where I'm standing, just to give you an example, I am currently thigh deep in the river. The color, since it has dropped below 4,000, I would describe as more of a green than the muddy brown that it was for the last number of weeks. But I am just over thigh deep right now, and when I was standing in this same spot a mere 3 weeks ago, well, yeah, basically 3 weeks ago, I would have been high and dry by about a foot. So, different river, different conditions, but what makes this such good holding water on the lower flows remains true on these higher flows. We've got a good drop off over here that I'm working with my jig under a cork. Whatever fish are here should be in this softer water. I don't think there's a ton of the big cutthroat available right now, because this is the time of year. I took a temperature this morning at my first spot and it was 46, 47. These cutthroat go up all of the feeder streams to do their spawning basically right when the water hits 48 to 50. I don't know if the camera is picking up on it, but I am being absolutely swarmed right now by Granum's Mother's Day caddis. Every time I hit a branch behind me, or anytime I move, it just stirs these guys up. There are so many Mother's Day caddis on hatching right now. It's about almost noon. So the river will be at its warmest shortly, but I would love to be dry fly fishing right now, and I've got the insect nailed. I know what's hatching. The only problem is that with the color of this water, and I experienced this last year, these cutthroat don't really key on the adult Granums. I think it's just a matter of sight. The visibility is only, 3, at best 4 feet. And this hatch last year only lasted just a very short amount of time, maybe at most 2 weeks. And so I never saw a point where the cutthroat were absolutely gorging themselves on adult granums. Now, during that same time, I was doing a lot of nymphing, and virtually every nymph that was in the size range of a Mother's Day caddis, they were taking. So I think, oh, there's a fish. So I think that what happens ooh, nice cutthroat. I think what happens is that in this river, because of the timing of the runoff, it's generally the Mother's Day caddis is a big food source for them when it comes to nymphs. But the hatch just happens too early for it to really be something to focus on dry fly wise. Come on, buddy. Now that looks like a fish that is not one of the spawners, because this fish has 0 color. And so that would lead me to believe, oh, I gotta work on my net when I get home. I forgot. Oh, hook is out. Let's get a nice view of this release in the sunshine. Nice. Well, I hooked another fish, and I turned on the camera when I realized that it was a nice big fat whitefish, because I wanted to create a little bit of video. This river has a very good population of mountain whitefish, and this is a pretty good specimen size-wise. I believe he chased my jig not once but twice, because I got him in the same spot. Let me adjust the camera here as I pull him out of the net, or I'll just shorten the net. Oh, there he went. I didn't get to get that very well on tape. Alright, since today is mostly exploration, I'm gonna show you what I switched over to on my second rod. This is another version, get the camera right, this is another version of a patch stone. It's got an olive chenille body and brown legs, tied on a 1/16 jig head. And I've got a dropper down to a little number 12 Prince, which of course is a great general purpose nymph. Probably, if I was trying to match the Granum Mother's Day caddis that I'm seeing all over the place, I'd probably go a little smaller, more like a 14 Prince or Hare's Ear. Now, interestingly, out of the corner of my eye, out of the corner of my eye, oh, there we go. He wanted it so bad he came after it a second time. I think he was on the dropper. Anyway, out of the corner of my eye, I just saw a fish rise for one of these Mother's Day caddis. And it makes me itch a little bit to have, oh my gosh, they're going after this fly setup even a little more aggressively than they were going after my jig. Makes me want to have a fly rod in my hand and be dead drifting a dry fly through there, because that's my number one. Look at that, bobber down, but they're taking it lightly. Let's go ahead and free spool that a little bit. Just watching the bobber. Oh, I looked up for a second, and that's when the bobber went down, and that is just absolutely typical. All right, one more cast before I shut off the camera for a little bit. All right in that beautiful slot right there. Here comes my float. Oh, they're just picking up that little fly so lightly. And I love it because that means they can see it, which also tends to make me think about going one nymphin rig and one fly rod next time. Well, the camera wasn't off long, and I got into something pretty decent. I believe it's a cutthroat, and I think he took the Pat Stone jig, which is great. All right, we're ready to go. He did take the Pat Stone jig. Oh, and it's a whitey. It's not a cutthroat. Maybe we'll get a better look at this mountain whitefish. Oh, I know why he's fighting so good. I think he's foul hooked, maybe. Nope, he's hooked in the mouth. All right. Now, I'm one of those guys that doesn't frown on these whitefish, not for a second. As me and my brother have talked about a lot, on some of our Montana trips, I know the barb is gone from this hook, but sometimes these whitefish, there we go. On some of our Montana trips, we have been frustrated because we didn't time a hatch particularly well, and we always said whitefish saves the day. And then I met a guy on the river one time who was wearing a shirt that said whitefish lives matter, and I got a kick out of that. So there is a mountain whitefish from the dorsal up, and now I'll pull him out and he'll probably go crazy, but that's a beauty. Probably 17 inches. Back he goes. Now we hooked into something here that took a really strong run right off the bat. I think what I'm finding in this hole today is quite a few whitefish, which is amazing because during steelhead there were literally none, but I just think this is a good chunky whitey that took the bottom fly. Yep, that's what it is. We can probably get this guy without the net. Now that's not surprising. Oh, that's why he's foul hooked. To hook a whitefish on a prince is never surprising because it has got to be one of the top, if not the top, whitefish fly ever. Uh-oh, he's bleeding pretty bad. I'm returning him. I could have kept him, but I'm gonna let him go. But yeah, a Prince nymph for whitefish, it's a staple.